Salima family, I'm back here with you once again. It is a Mats. I'm actually doing this piece very late because I think it's very, very important to get this information out. In one of either my second to last or two previous videos, I outlined and spoke about what was coming and how it was instructive, the different things that were happening with respect to first the deployment of Marines and deployment of National Guard troops out west, many of which are still out there and being deployed elsewhere. The most disturbing thing, of course, has been the deployment of the National Guard to take over policing and supposedly everything having to do with the rampant crime that has been taking place in D.C. And for those that have eyes to see and ears to hear, it's very important that as a people at this time, as the Most High is beginning to speak to many of us, that we heed what He says when He says that we must flee, that we must save ourselves, that we must begin this exodus and return to His land, because it is written in His word that only those that are found in His land shall He protect in these days. Now, everything centers around the Most High's people. Everything centers around us. The war continues. And as our time in these places have come to an end, the pharaohs, the leaders of Babylon, as well of this Mitzrayim, as well, both spiritual of this day and physical of this day, will seek to destroy the Most High's people. And one of the things I see, especially with the deployment of the National Guard and the taking over of D.C. by the military, is that it is instructive because this is the seat of power for the country. And so what better place for it to begin than there? But most importantly, what of our people that make up the National Guard, whatever their numbers are? How is this going to play out with them? And how are they going to be able to reconcile it in themselves? What will they do when they're called to turn on their own people? And so I came on not to say this, but to talk about something that has just been announced. And of course, they always announce these things very late in the night, so almost as if, it won't be visible to us or to those who need to see it during the day. But also they have to speak to themselves. They have to send a message to themselves, to each other, as about what is going to happen. Additionally, though, they do have to tell us what they're doing. And so, are we paying attention? So I'm going to be just posting here the title of a news piece that just appeared roughly, I would say, around 7 p.m. on NBC News. I'm going to post the title of the article, and then I'm going to read it, and after I read it, I'll have a short commentary at the end. Okay, so here we go. The title of the article is that military officers shifted to prosecute local DC crimes amid Trump takeover. I'm going to begin reading. Washington. As members of the National Guard deployed to the nation's capital as part of the Trump administration's takeover of policing in Washington, D.C., members of the military are also set to take on prosecutorial roles handling civilian crimes. 20 members of the Defense Department are set to begin working as Special Assistant U.S. Attorneys, federal prosecutors in the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Columbia next week, two people familiar with the matter told NBC News. Tim Lohr, a spokesman for the U.S. Attorney's Office, confirmed the move, saying members of the Judge Advocate General JAG Corps would be joining the office, though he did not know how long the detail would last. The Trump administration has overhauled the Justice Department since the beginning of their year, shifting federal law enforcement resources toward immigration-related offenses, overhauling the Civil Rights Division, and targeting career law enforcement officials involved in cases disfavored by the administration, including the two criminal cases against Trump. The U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Columbia is unique in that it prosecutes both federal crimes and in the U.S. District Court and local adult criminal offenses in D.C. Superior Court. The officers led the charge in prosecuting members of the mob that stormed the Capitol on the 6th of their month in the year 2021. A person familiar with the plan said that the 20 employees were expected to work misdemeanor cases and that they would begin their training next week. Stephen Vladek, a law professor at Georgetown University, noted that in 1983 the Justice Department's Office of Legal Counsel said JAG lawyers could not serve as special assistant U.S. attorneys because it violated a statute barring military officers from exercising the duties of a civil office. But just a few months later, Congress authorized them to do so. U.S. Attorney Janine Pirro recently told Fox News that her office is understaffed and needs 90 prosecutors, as well as 60 investigators and paralegals. The Trump administration has fired numerous federal prosecutors who worked on the JAN 6 cases, contributing to the shortage. To the extent the U.S. Attorney's Office has a shortage of lawyers, this administration did itself no favors by firing qualified prosecutors who worked on prosecuting the cases of JAN 6 and pushing out others by pursuing such an obviously political agenda, said former Assistant U.S. Attorney Brendan Ballou, who worked on the cases. It sounds like the U.S. Attorney is trying to import both staff and credibility. I don't think it will work. So, family, again, I just want to stress something. Both political parties, Democrats or Republicans, two heads on the same beast of our captivity. That's not hard to figure out. But we know that the minds of a lot of our people have been taken by all of this patriotism and all the things that they have pounded into the heads of our people from the cradle until the grave. But that's a different conversation. We see here that this is a move that is unprecedented. Having been in the military in this country, in the Marine Corps, JAG lawyers have a totally different mindset. They're trained in a completely different way when it comes to prosecution of cases, primarily having to do with, of course, persons in military service. Additionally, they're not trained in what is called civilian case law, because the military is governed by its own structure and really its own type of constitution when it comes to prosecuting cases, which is known as the Uniform Code of Military Justice, which applies across all the branches of service and their special departments. And so the way in which they're going to look and view through the lens of that training on quote-unquote misdemeanor cases is going to be far different. But this is setting the stage for the military to arrest, for the military to prosecute. And when you are facing a judicial process having to do with JAG, are these cases going to be overseen also by a military tribunal? We're not being told. But if it is the case, your chances of being able to challenge a case prosecuted in that way is almost um, it's almost impossible. It does not happen because you're being prosecuted in a completely different way by a different standard, and where you may even be imprisoned if you're found guilty could be someplace like Leavenworth, who knows, all these military prisons. And so, family, I'm just here shouting from the rooftop. What is the position of our people? What is our position? Are we asleep or are we awake? Are we ready to walk in belief to the Father and prepare ourselves for what comes next and what it is we will need to do for the saving of our families? It is written that Nuach, aka Noah, believed what the Most High told him to do and did it for the saving of his family. And so, as it was in the days of Nuach, so shall it be in these days, line upon line, precept upon precept. So this is just a relatively short video. I may follow it up, hopefully probably tomorrow or the next day. But I'm hoping that this will resonate with those of us that are listening to it and put us in a place where we need to be, because the ball is rolling and it has been moving very, very fast since the beginning of their year. Since the inauguration of the current president, this has been the focus. There have been other things in between that are happening that is a distraction, and these things are being done to take our eyes off what is really happening behind the scenes. So to take and to quote Trump, these things that he has to do must move, in his words, at warp speed. The question is, what type of speed are we moving? Okay, I'll see you on the next one.